First of all, you talked about Putin targeting civilians or the Russians targeting civilians. It's obviously very hard to tell exactly what's happened here, but with that caveat in mind, you want to remember that the Americans have been pushing to arm civilians in Ukraine and to tell those civilians to fight against the Russians. So by definition, in lots of the firefights that have taken place and will take place, Russians are going to be fighting against civilians because those civilians are fighting against the Russians. So just remember, this is a very complicated business. Second point has to do with Putin's thinking and also your comments about the narratives that are taking place inside Russia. The fact is, we have no idea who Putin is talking to. And we really have no idea exactly what he's thinking these days. There's just no way we could know that. And it is, you used the term black box. It's kind of a black box. We can look at what he said on February 24th or February 21st and so forth and so on, but who knows for sure what he's thinking. When it comes to narratives, I've spent a lot of time thinking about how public discourse matches up with decision-making in a crisis. If you go to a decision like the Cuban Missile Crisis or the German decision to invade France in 1940, basically you have a handful of policymakers in the room who are making the decision to do something. And what they think is what matters. And the narratives that are swirling around in the broader public really don't matter. So I understand that if you look at the narratives in Russia today, you can find all sorts of evidence of people talking about doing X or doing Y or doing Z in Ukraine. But in the end, what really matters is what Putin and his close advisors are thinking and why exactly they decided on February 24th to invade Ukraine. And we really don't have good information to analyze that situation at this point in time. My final set of comments, have to do with your point about Russian interest in grabbing territory in Ukraine. I actually think the Russians had zero interest in grabbing territory in Ukraine, and that includes eastern Ukraine. The main reason that the Russians wanted to implement the Minsk II Accords and wanted to work with Zelensky to do that is they wanted to shut down the problem in eastern Ukraine. They did not want to conquer the Donbass. Furthermore, when things really began to get bad in mid-February, they recognized those territories in the Donbass as independent states. They didn't move to make them part of Russia as they had done with Ukraine. And with regard to the future, it's not at all clear that Russia will move to take those parts of eastern Ukraine that it's conquered and integrate them into a greater Russia. I wouldn't be surprised if they created an independent state, simply because it's probably more trouble than it's worth to conquer that territory. So I don't think the Russians, contrary to the conventional wisdom in the United States, have really had any interest in conquering Ukraine. Because, as I said, conquering Ukraine would be like swallowing a porcupine. Thank you.